seek professional advice.
Hello and welcome to Pro Dad, Noob Dad. So this is Chris, he is the new dad, and I am Joel, I am the Pro Dad, which is a dangerous thing to
Pro
say.
Dad? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
just by virtue of being filmed?
Yeah, so I have 3 children. Maybe you need more to be a pro dad. Maybe you need 8 or 9.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm nearly there. But I have a lot of children. And
the idea of having one is unfathomable to me at present. So
that's the idea of this channel, is we're going to follow Chris's journey from having no children through to having a child, which is quite a nice series arc, isn't it?
It's hopefully going to have a satisfying crescendo, but also talk about
Character
the idea
development.
of what is being a dad. What does that mean? What's being a father mean? What's being a man mean in today's society?
It's very different to how it was for our dads.
Yeah, absolutely.
No cigars in the waiting room anymore. No, like you're full in there cutting umbilical cords these days. My daughter, my 8-year-old, was the first baby I'd ever held. I had never held a baby.
How is that possible?
Before my first child, because I'd never been around anyone who had kids. So I didn't know anything about kids. So I've gone from a point of I knew nothing about kids to going like I could do a YouTube channel about kids.
So was that because you were one of the first amongst your friend group to have kids?
I think if all my friends had kids, I still wouldn't want to hold their babies.
Okay, just because kids are abhorrent.
I'm a dropper.
You're a dropper.
Well, I mean, I don't think I'd want the responsibility of holding someone else's baby. So like.
So it wasn't because you were averse to it.
Well, maybe. But relatives would have kids, and they'd say, "Oh, hold the baby," and you go, "I don't think that's for me."
That's it, because I'm very much a baby holder.
Yeah, you get one hand.
Yeah, I like holding babies. I like singing to babies.
Yeah, terrifying for them, but sure.
Well, no. I do a lovely little thing where I kind of get a very resonant bass kind of ooh, and that seems to be quite soothing.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know babies like that.
Well,
you see, we've swapped roles.
There we
already.
go. We've swapped roles.
Well, this is falling
Pro
apart.
dad, new dad. So Joel and I have been friends for a number of years.
Yep.
Probably 15 years.
15 years.
And we've talked a lot about kids during our time and many other things. And that's something that's going to really, I think, become apparent as the show goes on and as the week goes on, is that this is not just about babies. It's primarily about babies, and it's about my journey to being a dad and learning all the wonderful stuff. Yep. I'm at 0 effectively as well.
And the season finale will be a live birth of your child.
Live birth, live streamed.
Possibly not,
no,
but I mean,
but
what an amazing culmination of a series.
Yeah,
that we can go through all the pitfalls of getting ready for a baby and pregnancy and everything that goes with it, and at the end of it, you can come and sit out here in your gazebo and go, there you go, check this out.
There's a baby. But of course, it doesn't end there, as you full well know.
No, of course it. You can have series 2 and everything else as well. But I mean, I think there's just a lovely journey that we're going to go on. I mean, by the time you actually have the baby, you'll be too busy to make series 2. That's the problem.
Can't do anything with a kid.
No, can't do anything.
As the myth goes, and we'll explore the reality of that, of course, in a later show.
Yeah.
So where am I today? So I'm at 12 weeks today, and we had our big 12-week scan yesterday. So
amazing.
If you are a new dad out there, you've just found out your partner's pregnant, the 12-week scan is the big one, isn't it?
It's the one you get free on the NHS.
It's the one you get free on the NHS. And of course, in the time of Corona that we're in at the moment.
Yes, so this is being recorded in October 2020, so we are balls deep in Corona. Lockdown, in lockdown, out of lockdown. I mean, no one knows what's going on. I mean, the zombie outbreak hasn't happened yet, but it may be by the time you watch this. Yeah.
So normally, 12-week scan in Britain. We're in UK. We're in London, and the council in London. You get a free scan at 12 weeks, and this is a big one because if everything goes well at that 12-week scan, I didn't really know this. You get things like genetic screenings for anomalies and such. If you get there and it goes good, there's a very tiny chance something is going to go wrong after
12 weeks is where you tell your friends.
You tell your friends.
Traditionally, you keep it yourself for the first couple of months, and when you get to 12 weeks, you kind of get the all clear, you're definitely pregnant. Because a lot of people didn't do what you do, where they went and had a private scan first just to check. So for a lot of couples, this will be the first time they've ever seen their actual
so we'll talk about that a little bit as well. So in the time of Corona, at the point where we'll get onto this story, I'm sure, in later episodes. But
we're never actually going to mention the names of our wives, right? It's always just my wife.
No, it's just my wife. Yeah, it's my assistant.
Yeah, this is a dad thing. Like, we're not. Yeah.
But we'd wanted to try for a child for a long time. Life got in the way, new jobs, new things, etc. And of course, time of Corona, that again got in the way, held off plans, and it looks like there is no end in sight in Corona. So hopefully you're going to be watching this in the future, and it will be a blissful pandemic-free world, and everyone will be having babies everywhere. But we just decided, if now is not the right time, then when is the right time?
No, exactly. I mean, and that's a big thing, which, you know, a lot of people, when they're thinking about having kids, they go, well, now's not a great time because of X, Y, Z. And if you spend your life doing that, you'll never have a child. Yeah. And we were even like that with our third, where there's a big age gap. Well, there's 4 years between our second and our third, because we procrastinated having a third kid. We wanted one, and it's like, well, let's just wait till it's, till he's doing this, or let's just wait till his birthday, or let's just wait till we've been on this holiday. And you go, if we leave it any longer, then we're going to have like an age group where they're never going to hang out. Yeah. So I mean, even with second and third kids, it's a thing.
Because we had this conversation many times, and you've always said, like, you want kids. What's been the blocker? What's stopping you? And I've come up with excuses, or I've come up with this and that, and you've been like, you've got to commit. There's never a right time. No. You're never going to have enough money. You're never going to have enough support network. It's never going to be the right time.
No. And there's people all over the world who live in much worse conditions than we do, in little villages on the side of a mountain, and they've got 4 kids and they're absolutely fine. And
we are very privileged, and I think that's something which is going to come up as part of the show, and I'm going to encounter that right now with the fact that in the time of Corona, 12-week scans up until just 2 weeks ago, and this is dependent on different areas of the country where you live, the postcodes are different, the fathers weren't able to go to the 12-week scan. Which is...
It would be horrific. Yeah, it's horrible.
If you haven't got a kid coming, or you haven't had a kid, that doesn't sound actually that bad. Like, well...
It's a hospital appointment.
Who cares? Right? It's a hospital appointment.
No, I hear what you said.
The mum can just go and get the scan. Yeah. Why is everyone kicking up a fuss about it? And I would probably have been the same. It just sounds like a routine hospital appointment. But actually having gone through the process now of what that 12-week scan can potentially mean, and the anxiety that leads up to that 12-week
scan. Every scan, even third kid, every scan, there's still an anxiety as they put the gel on and they do the little dum 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 dum, like, please let me hear a heartbeat.
Please,
like every time, and it's nerve-wracking, and always every scan, even towards the end of the you never. It's never not a nerve-wracking occasion.
Because are you a nervous person normally?
No.
Like we were both in a band together, musicians.
No, I'm not.
I've been a pro wrestler. I've done all kinds of. I've never experienced nerves. But waiting for that scan was unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely. It's proper like heartbeat time, and every time as well. Like, it doesn't get any better. Like you're because later on you might get a 4D scan. I don't know what the fourth dimension is.
Love,
possibly.
Love. Yeah.
So there's a fourth dimension. So you get a 4D scan, which is actually just a 3D scan. Yeah. I don't know what the fourth is. And
time, isn't it?
Yeah,
because it's moving.
Maybe. And then. That's kind of later on, and even that, and that's to give you like a nice little kind of print off keepsake that you can show your friends, and put in the baby's a little booklet that you'll get, and even that is nerve-wracking, because
that's one of the questions.
What happens if they do the scan and it's dead? Yeah. What happens if they do the scan and it's grown an extra arm? Or what if they do the scan and it's like, nah, this is no good, this has all gone horribly wrong? Especially because, and I don't want to get further on and spook you, but your wives go through weeks where they go, I haven't felt the baby kick for a few days. I felt it every day, and I've felt it for 3 days, and then you start going, oh shit.
Well, we've had the early version of that, which is, I haven't felt sick today.
Yeah. Well, that was that's a big thing. Yeah.
So, which is the other thing. So again, this is if you're a new dad, there's a pretty high chance your partner is gonna feel terrible for the first trimester. There's 3 trimesters, right?
Yeah, that's why it's called a trimester.
They thought about the naming. There's 3 trimesters,
each of 3 months.
The first one.
It's
a trying time.
It's a trimester.
Yeah. 3 months, 3 months, 3 months.
Yeah.
Traditionally, you would say the first 3 months is quite hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you got to be prepared for that. The first 3 months is quite hard.
This is good. Yeah, no, this is great material.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the second 3 months
are great. So it's the second 3 months.
Glow, right?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, not everyone's the same, but second 3 months, you get that traditional glow, you get the energy. It's a great time for exercising. It's a great time for things like decorating nurseries and doing all that because you have loads of energy, you'll feel great, and your body is generally enjoying being pregnant.
Yeah.
Not everybody. Obviously.
Not everyone.
Yeah.
This is just as a generalisation.
And then the third trimester, which is, some way off, and we'll get there.
Yeah.
But that's where you go, fuck you for making me pregnant, you bastard. I can't stand up, I can't sit down, I can't go to the toilet, I need to piss every 2 minutes. Like, back to being miserable again. But not because they feel sick, but because they're fucking massive. And
we had a little look at some progress charts today of how big and how. I think that's absolutely fascinating. And
it's all fruit based.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, we're at lime at the moment,
oh,
so
really?
that's a big
stage.
stage.
It's as lime already.
It's as big as a lime. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
6.9 centimeters.
Yeah.
And
that's because it's your baby, though. Everybody else would be great by now.
So my wife is quite small, and she might let us post some pictures. We can hopefully post some of those progress pictures quite now. And I'm quite large. I'm 6'4", and this with my lockdown haircut. So first trimester, she's been feeling very sick, and there's a real continuum of how sick you can be. Like, you can be sick all the time to the point where you're in hospital for dehydration and being on saline drips. Yeah. It can be as bad as that. Yeah. But then also, I've been talking to people about their experiences, and some of them have just sailed through. Yeah. We know someone, and we won't say names, but they will possibly come on this show at some point to talk about their experience, whose wife did not know they were pregnant until she was 7 months pregnant.
Now the best thing about this is that when we say that, you think, I bet they're the dumbest people you've ever met. And it's literally the opposite of that.
It's the opposite.
Yeah, I mean, like, he's like a millionaire banker, right?
And landed gentry from Germanic kind of origin.
I actually don't know what his wife does, but she seems incredibly professional and intelligent.
Senior person,
vice president of something,
senior payments company.
Yeah, I mean,
again, they might not come on the show, so we don't want to say too much.
But I mean, like, they are like as intelligent as both university educated, master's degrees, high-ranking jobs. Didn't know they were pregnant until they were.
It really does seem like the great leveler, the pregnancy experience.
It's a good point. Yeah,
to a degree, and
because he like the princess, what's her face, William's wife. She was hospitalised with sickness.
There you go.
Yeah, and she's like a princess.
I don't know how to put it other than like paternal guilt at the experience your wife is going through. Yeah. Like, how did you find that, and how did you find it change throughout the trimesters, and how did you find it change throughout the children?
My wife didn't suffer massively on any of the pregnancies. It's so much that I don't remember her. So if she had a bit of morning sickness, it was a very light smattering. I remember the end. I remember being over pregnant. I remember being over a due date in the third trimester, being like, misery. And that's kind of when you kind of go, well, thank goodness you were pregnant, in your third trimester in the winter, because I think being third trimester pregnant in the summer is much worse because of the heat.
That's a really good point. I've not thought about that at all.
So I mean, you'll be fine because you'll be like spring.
Yeah, April 22nd is the current.
So you'll be fine. But I mean, some people, like, they go through their third trimester in like September when it's like 35 degrees, and that's like hell because you can't get cold.
It's my wife's birthday is September 19th, and that's one of the most popular birthdays around.
Right.
Imagine because of the Christmas holiday festivity period.
Christmas.
So
this is a really interesting side, right? Yeah. Is that my third child was born exactly 9 months after my birthday. Right? now I don't think that's related in any way at all, but I understand that at some point when she's older,
she's going to work it out.
She's going to work it out and go, "Oh my God, I was my dad's birthday present," and it isn't true. I don't think she was conceived on my birthday by she was probably a week either way.
Right.
But I think that like when you actually look at the maths, it's bang on my birthday.
I mean, we'll get into the whole madness around conceive dates and how that works.
There's no science to it. And that's what's amazing. It's 2020, and the science for conception and due dates is probably the same as it was in like the 1600s.
We'll do that on a separate episode, because that's a whole thing in and of itself.
We could have a graph for that, couldn't we?
We could have a graph, yeah, definitely. But I think a nice we'll maybe put some infographics at the bottom of the screen sometimes, and we'll say.
I think there already is.
Yeah,
kicking along right now.
Here,
yeah.
EDD, estimated delivery date, is a bit of biological nomenclature that I think is quite interesting to know. We had our proper estimated delivery date at the 12-week scan, and the 12-week scan is great. The staff at NHS hospitals are amazing. They were with us for like half an hour, 45 minutes.
They are great, and you get so much time, and
it was all the questions were answered.
We've had nothing but amazing experiences with all the NHS stuff.
Yeah, one of my favourite bits was the baby has to be in a certain position, right, to be able to look at some kind of neck fold thing, to diagnose the propensity for genetic abnormalities, but to get that baby in that position, there's a few techniques that the lady uses, a sonographer. Yeah. Well, sure.
Yeah, sonographer.
It sounds good. Yeah, sonographer. Yeah, okay. When she couldn't actually get it in the right position, the technique that she used was to put some gel on the belly, get the thing, and just go, just wiggle it around. Yeah. Which I thought was absolutely delightful.
It's mad science.
Yeah, it's mad science. It's so good.
But they do cold stuff. It's the cold, because it's just trying to jiggle it in the right place.
Yeah. We've been told on the next scan, because we have a
Lucozade one.
No,
they get you to drink Lucozade, because then the sugar goes into the baby and it makes the baby go all crazy, and they get all the measurements and things.
Yeah, that's really good knowledge.
Yeah. Although they've removed all the sugar from Lucozade, so probably they do something else now.
Oh, okay. Well, good to know.
It used to be Lucozade. Which is obviously readily available in most hospitals.
Yes. Yeah. Next thing up for us is the 16-week sex scan.
Yeah. See, I remember it being later than that. I remember it being like 22 weeks or something. Yeah. So maybe technology's better.
Yeah, it was. The NHS one is 21, I think.
Well, there you go. So it's a private scan.
So it's a private scan again, using that privilege to jump ahead.
You don't think you get a false reading?
They offer 99%. So
right. This is really interesting, because I think this is quite. Not a lot of people talk about this, but let's talk about what sex baby you want and what that feels like, because I really wanted a boy, so I didn't know anything about kids, as we know, as I've said, I'd never held a baby, and I kind of thought, well, if I'm going to have a kid, I want a boy. I'm going to teach him football, we're going to play guitar, and we're going to do boy stuff together, right? And I just wanted a boy. I just felt it would be easing me into kids better if I had a son. And we went for the sex scan, and it was a girl. And a lot of people don't find out what the baby is, but I remember being, properly disappointed. I was like, I think it took me 2 or 3 days of being properly bummed out. And I actually had this conversation with my daughter. She's 8, and she asked me. She said, what did you think when you found out you're having a girl?
How did that come about?
I don't know. I think maybe she heard it. Maybe my wife told her. Right. But she asked me, and I was honest with her. And I said, no, I was disappointed. I did want a boy. Yeah. And she actually asked me on the way home from football training, because she plays football and she's a brilliant footballer. She plays for a club, and I was driving her to and from football training. I think I'd said that I love taking her to football training more than anything, because if I think of things I wanted to do with my kids, I wanted to take them and play football, and I wanted to go and stand on the sidelines and be the dad that shouted and play football. And not even aggressively. I just wanted to do football, because it's such a big thing for me growing up. And my son isn't massively bothered about football. He may get into it as he's older, but at 6 years old, doesn't really care. And he's a computer gamer, and that's great. So am I. Yeah. But my daughter is an amazing footballer. She loves it, and it's great. And I love nothing more than taking her to football training and standing on the sideline and watching her. And that's amazing. And I think that, you go back 9 years to how disappointed I was when I found out I was having a girl. It seems ridiculous now. in hindsight, to ever be disappointed with what you're having is daft. But I think it was real, and I think if you're going through that and you found out you're having a girl when you wanted a boy, or a boy when you wanted a girl, I think that's it's a huge thing, and I don't think anyone talks about it. I think it's a bit of a hidden thing because it's quite shameful to admit that you didn't want a girl. I mean, we're not China,
sure,
right?
yeah.
I mean, you're not going to get rid of it, but it really didn't matter, is what I'm trying to say. It so hasn't mattered, and as soon as you get past that initial disappointment, which for me was probably 2 or 3 days, and you get your head around it and you get used to it, then it's great.
There's a baffling world out there, and there's a lot of advice, a lot of people trying to sell you things. That's something I've noticed in just 12 weeks.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I'm not an expert. There'll be people who know way more than I do, but I've been through it 3 times, and I'm definitely at a other end of the spectrum, I guess, than you are, who's come from it where I was 8 years ago or 9 years ago, where I knew nothing at all.
But you've got some expert skills in other areas. You're great with knives.
Yeah, thanks.
I think you've got some good knowledge on knives. You've got some good knowledge on how to wash a car.
And you know a lot about washing cars.
Yeah. Best routes to anywhere, really.
Yeah, well, I mean, that happens as soon as you have your first child, you instantly learn all of the motorway network without needing maps.
Amazing. Okay, so
it's one of those things. It will happen to you. It's great.
So we're going to do some dad challenges, aren't we, as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
During the show, not today, but we're going to do things like change a nappy whilst telling us how to get from Surrey to Gloucester.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah,
and one of the things I would suggest is that I can recite the story of the 3 little pigs while literally doing anything else. I mean, I could be diffusing a nuclear bomb, and I can talk and I can say the story of the 3 little pigs, all Goldilocks, with accents and with character voices, without possibly even having to think twice about it.
And that's a lovely point. Like, I could do some tales from mythology off the top of my head. I could do the Epic of Gilgamesh or some tales from Norse
That's
mythology.
going to go down really well with the 2-year-old.
Yeah.
They're going to.
I don't know if I could do a fairy tale off the top of my head.
I know, but that's what's so great. You're going to learn all that.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have been able to do it either. But you read it enough to the point where you don't need the book anymore. But the thing about books and kids is they like the pictures.
So this is a nice story. So today, I bought my first few children's books, or books that I would like to read to my new baby that's coming. And I bought 3 books. I bought Batman 5-Minute Tales.
Oh, yeah.
Just wait, please.
No, it's great.
And I bought quite an old book, but a very famous book about mythology from around the world. And I bought an illustrated book of Norse mythology.
I mean, and that is in every single nursery and preschool in the country.
Yeah. So I spoke with my colleague today, and I said, look, hey, he's got a 6-month-old girl. No, he has, my colleague.
Oh, okay. I thought it was
not you. No, I know. I know your children.
Yeah. All right. Okay. A different colleague. Okay.
Yeah, a different colleague.
I thought I was your colleague in this.
No, you're my colleague in this. I also have a day job. We are only sponsored by dogs and Budweiser this week.
Yeah. Who knows what it's going to be next week?
Who knows? Could be Lucasade.
Yeah.
So yeah, I said, hey, you've got a 6-month-old. These are the books that I've got. What do you think about them?
And did he laugh?
He laughed for a good few minutes.
I think that's
like,
important. Yeah.
Number one, you need books that are hard. That chew-proof.
Yeah.
And you want content like, maybe this page has got some crinkly paper on. Maybe this one has a shiny ball.
Mirrors.
Yeah.
Mirrors.
So I think I was pitching a bit too high with the books.
And those books will be great when your kid is 10, maybe 12 or 13.
Yeah.
And they're going to love it. But I think certainly there is an arc of books. And this goes back to fairy tales where, But
how did you know the arc of books? How did you know that? Or
you don't know it. So here's an interesting thing. So when my first kid, so I know nothing about kids before I had my first kid. So when we had the first kid, I went onto eBay and I bought a job lot of children's books off eBay, and it was a box about yay big, and it maybe contained 70 books of varying age and readings that had come from a closed down library or something. There's sort of stamps and things in, and you go, no, they don't like that one, and you find the ones they like, and then people buy you a book. So your friends will go, oh, here's That's Not My Reindeer. That's what you get for Christmas, and the kids love it. So you go and buy the rest of the That's Not My series, and the great thing about books is there's a collecting thing to it as well. So you could just go and buy all of That's Not My Books on day one,
Right.
but then you miss out on that of taking them shopping, and their reward for being good in the pram today was they get a new That's Not My Book, and so
I'm learning already.
Yeah. And a lot of the back of the books, they'll show you, it's like the Mr. Men books, they'll show you the other books in the series. And you do got, need. So me and my boy will sit down and we'll go, got, need, got, need. And then for his birthday, I'll get him 2 of the ones he needs. And he'll go, oh, great, 2 more books.
So I think a more fundamental question, right? Like, if you were going to pitch a movie, like you've got age ratings on a movie, right? So you wouldn't show a toddler The Godfather. Probably you wouldn't watch The Godfather, too slow,
it's too long,
too long. Is there, do they do like puzzles type age ratings on books, like this book is 0 to 6?
No, they don't.
No,
I mean they really don't, and so there is a trial and error certainly involved, but it gets easy once you have your second and third kid. But I mean, there is a real learning stage where you start reading a book to a kid and you know that they're not into it, so you might think, oh, this is going to be a great book for my 1-year-old, and they go, trash, and they don't want to read it, and so you find the one that's got the mirror and they go, this is brilliant, there's a mirror.
There's a mirror.
Yeah, so
paper.
But the good thing about books is that you just put them on the shelf, and then when 3 months later you'll try it again, so it's never lost.
Because it was pitched too early.
It's not an unusual thing for different kids to be ready at different ages as well. So you might find that my daughter loved the famous 5 books when she was like 5 and 6, and already this is kind of like they're not that cool. Whereas my son is like, he's kind of like 6, he's probably only just getting ready for the famous 5. But the famous 5 is brilliant, and that's a great example where it's the cream rises to the top. Like there was thousands of books written in the 1940s and the 50s. Most of them are shit, but the good ones are still with us, right?
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Even when people say, "Oh, the music was better in the 60s and 70s," no, most of it was shit. You only just listen to the good stuff.
The
right?
good music is better.
Yeah, the good music is good, and it's the same as books. So Roald Dahl is still amazing.
Yep.
Apart from the Great Glass Elevator, they're all fantastic, and my kids just can't, like, they just eat them up. They just can't wait for the next page. Like, Roald Dahl is still the master.
Can we do, not now, but other days, can we do some book reviews?
I'll bring them. Yeah, we'll have the books and we'll have
Let's
them
do some
on.
kid book reviews. I'd love that, and I'm sure that'd be really helpful.
But books for me is a huge part of being a dad, actually, because so again, we'll do this later on, but like for me, there's a couple of things where you'll have roles within baby rearing. Right? Mm-hmm. Where you go, okay, I do this and I do this. And the thing I always try and say is, like, as a dad, if you can, is you try and do bath time and book time. In a traditional situation, you just get home from work anyway, and it's about bath time. So that's kind of how it started for me. You get home from work at 6 o'clock, it's bath time, I'll do the bath. And it's an amazing time with a baby, because even as a baby or as a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old, it's one-on-one. There's no phone because you'll get it wet and ruin it, so you have to put your phone down.
Yeah.
And it's playtime. You get all the toys in the bath, and you have a splash around.
So you wouldn't just run a bath, surely? Yeah. Like a regular bath?
Regular bath, yeah.
So a full-size human bath.
Okay, so a newborn baby has a bath insert. I've got one for you. I'll bring it next time.
There you go. Bath insert, sponsored by Joel.
Yeah, so it's like a bath insert. So it's like a little kind of cradle thing with like a squishy, like almost like a net.
Right.
And then you put the baby in there.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and then they just lie in it and they kick their legs. So you run it to that deep. And you have little thermometers, make sure it's the right temperature.
Right.
In the olden days, they'd put their elbow in, but I mean, I don't know. It doesn't mean anything.
Elbow.
So you have a bath thermometer and make sure it's not too hot. And then as the kid gets older, when they can sit up by themselves, essentially, then you can put them in the bath. And then, after a while, you get to the point where they splash around and they'll lie down and do fun things. But it's a brilliant time, and that has always been, I think, it's a great bonding time for a dad and a baby. It's bath time, because it's a real one-on-one. No one else is there. There's no distractions. It's just you and the kid. And I used to actually play music. So with my third kid,
like guitar?
No. I'd have music on. So I got a little speaker in the bathroom.
Yeah.
And we'd listen to a different artist every night. So one night, it might be I don't know.
Cannibal Corpse.
Yeah, one night, so we'd listen to different artists every night and different eras, and we'd go through different music, so she kind of absorbed all that as well. And we do funny beards and we do things as well. And then after that, go to the bedroom and you do book time. And so all my kids' book time has been amazing, and my oldest daughter, we've done some brilliant books, and we've probably done 50 or 60 full-on chapter books like the Famous Five and David Walliams and all the modern kind of books and the Roald Dahl books, and just absorb them. And it's just a brilliant time where every night you get to spend 20-30 minutes with your kid with no distractions. And for me, like, that book time, bath time is like traditional dad, like great dad job to do.
So, but you said there's a lot of repetition in the books. And so, because you'll know these things over and over. So why
early on, yeah. So but that's how kids learn, right? So repetition is one thing you'll know and realise is that kids can watch the same movie, and we probably did it with Star Wars.
I did it with Star Wars, yeah.
But they still can. They can still watch the same movie 50 times, right? So you say, okay, it's movie night tonight, kids. What do you want to watch? Let's watch Trolls. We watched Trolls last week and the week before. We always watch Trolls. Let's watch something else. No, let's watch Trolls again. And you know, my youngest daughter, who's 2. She will sit and watch the same episode of something again and again and again.
That's amazing. In the era of all content available
but
anywhere.
And that's the same with Three Little Pigs. So every night, what book do you want? I want the Three Little Pigs. But we did it last night. I want it again. And you just do the same story again and again and again. And repetition is how kids learn. It's how
so you don't have to mix it up. You don't have to do different accents or different
sometimes
voices.
I do. Yeah, I do. Yeah, but then they'll tell you off for it. So if you change the story a little bit, they go, that's not how it goes, Daddy. No, that's not how it goes. The wolf isn't.
So there's a canon version.
The wolf isn't from Wales.
Right.
So there'll be a canon version, yeah. And they will spot if you've done it differently. But that's how all kids learn. They learn from repetition. That's building brain synapses, and there's a psychological increased repetition. So stories are a huge part of it. It's a great time, and books for me, it's been a massive part of my kids' lives. And we have this huge library where we just, every time we go to the shops, we just buy books and you know, we collect all the sets and absorb them.
So when stuff gets pitched, this is clearly going to be an example of how clueless I am. When you say stuff is pitched too old or whatever, like if you are reading it to them, unless you get quite highfalutin, like, is it just that the story structure is a bit complicated, or is it that it's a bit scary, or it's boring?
They can be boring, yeah.
It's just boring.
Absolutely, just boring. They just won't get it. They're just not interested. It's like, and all ages are different, but a very young baby, like, you know, up to the age of kind of 18 months, they need physical stimulation. They need things to prod and touch. And they want to touch it, and you know.
So it's the tactile rather than the auditory.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's bright pictures and things, and like turn the page regularly, like 1 or 2 lines per page is what you'll understand. And you know, as they get older, they get into the story, and the story is important, and the intrigue, and you know, it's stories about kids. Like the Roald Dahl books, the star of the story is always a kid, right?
Yeah.
And so that's who they, and Harry Potter's the same. And those
very much looking forward to revisiting the Roald Dahl.
Yeah, Roald Dahl's amazing. All the books are brilliant, and apart from Great Glass Elevator, which is
I don't ever remember reading that.
No, well, don't.
Don't. Just forget it. Okay,
but we still haven't ever finished The Witches because it's too scary. So both of my older kids they won't read The Witches. We get to a certain point and they're like, shut the book. I don't want to read anymore.
Shut it down. So thanks very much for watching. Hopefully it's been informative, funny, or simply pass the time in an open tab whilst you work on a spreadsheet. I think it's high aspirations indeed.
That's all we can hope for.
This has been Pro Dad Noob Dad. I've been Chris.
I've been Joel. Thank you very much for watching.
See you next week.
See you later.
Seek professional advice.